A piercing screech of brakes shattered the evening calm. Before I could react, a massive force sent me flying, and I crashed hard onto the pavement. A searing pain shot through my knee, and a warm liquid quickly soaked through my pant leg. I looked up to see a white Porsche stopped a short distance away. The driver's door flew open, and a woman in a white dress stumbled out, her face deathly pale. It was Sophia. Then, the passenger door opened, and my husband, Arthur, strode out. He didn't look at me. He ran straight to Sophia, steadying her anxiously, his voice laced with a panic I had never heard before. "Sophia, are you okay? Are you hurt?" Sophia collapsed into his arms, trembling, pointing at me with a stammer. "Arthur, I didn't mean to. I saw her. I tried to brake, but it was too late." Arthur took off his expensive, custom-made suit jacket and gently wrapped it around Sophia's thin shoulders, pulling her into his protective embrace and murmuring, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." From beginning to end, his gaze never lingered on me for more than a second. I sat on the ground, staring at my mangled, bloody knee. The pool of blood on the pavement was glaringly bright under the streetlight. A cold wind blew past, and I felt a chill seep into my very bones. It was our 3rd wedding anniversary. I had left work early to surprise him. I was still holding the Black Forest cake I had just picked up from the bakery, his favorite. Now, the cake box lay smashed nearby, its contents a messy smear of black chocolate and white cream on the ground, like a cruel joke. A crowd of onlookers began to gather, pointing and whispering. Arthur finally remembered me. He frowned, pulled a card from his wallet, and walked over, holding it out to me condescendingly. "There's 200,000 on this. Get yourself to a hospital. Sophia is terrified. I need to take her home first." His tone was that of someone dismissing an inconvenient nuisance. I didn't take the card. I just looked at him silently. There wasn't a trace of guilt on his face, only impatience. It was as if my injured leg was merely delaying him from comforting the woman he loved. I looked away and took out my phone. I didn't call for an ambulance, nor did I cry or scream. First, I dialed 3 numbers. 911. When the call connected, I reported the accident in an unnaturally calm voice, clearly stating the time, location, license plate number, and the names of the driver and passenger. "Yes, officer. I suspect it was intentional assault." After hanging up, I dialed another number. "Mr. Davies, it's me, Madison. I need you at the intersection on South City Road immediately." "Yes, I've been in a car accident. Also, please prepare a divorce agreement and initiate the asset protection proceedings we discussed." "Yes, all of them." Across the way, Arthur's face changed in an instant when he heard the words divorce agreement and asset protection. The smell of antiseptic in the hospital was overwhelming. The doctor cleaned my wound, gave me 7 stitches, and put my knee in a thick plaster cast. He warned me that such injuries take time to heal and that I should avoid moving for the next few months to prevent permanent damage. A nurse pushed me in a wheelchair to a bench in the hallway to wait for my report. Before long, Arthur and Sophia appeared. They must have just come from the police station. Sophia's eyes were red, and she followed meekly behind Arthur, looking utterly pitiful. Arthur strode up to me, his face a mask of anger and disbelief. "Madison, are you done making a scene? Filing a police report for intentional assault? Hiring a lawyer? Do you have any idea that this could give her a criminal record?" I looked up at him without a word, simply handing him the accident liability report I had just printed. It was there in black and white. The vehicle failed to slow down at a crosswalk. The driver, Sophia, was fully responsible. His expression soured further, and he lowered his voice, as if trying to maintain some final shred of dignity. "It's just a scrape. I already said I would take responsibility. Why do you have to be so ruthless?" "A scrape." I pointed to my cast. "Mr. Shin, why don't you let me hit you with a car? I'll pay you 400,000. He was speechless. Sophia timidly tugged at his sleeve. "Arthur, don't blame Madison. It's all my fault." "Madison, I'm so sorry. I'll pay your medical bills. Please don't divorce Arthur." "Okay, you've only been married for 3 years. It would have been better if she hadn't mentioned our marriage." Her words only made the situation more ironic. I took a business card from my purse and held it out to her. It was my lawyer's. "Ms. Lynn, my lawyer will discuss the compensation and assault charges with you. And let me remind you, I've already submitted the dashcam footage from that Porsche as evidence to the police. I think it has a better memory than you do of whether you hit the accelerator or the brake." The color drained from Sophia's face. Arthur snatched the card, tore it to pieces, and threw it into a nearby trash can, glaring at me furiously. "Madison, what the hell do you want?" "What do I want?" I looked at him and enunciated each word with perfect clarity. I want a divorce. And I want you, Arthur, to leave with nothing. He looked as if he'd just heard the world's greatest joke. Leave with nothing. Madison, did you hit your head? Do you know what our company is worth? Do you know how much our villa is worth? On what grounds? On the grounds. I took out my phone and played a recording. It was from a call I had made to him 10 minutes before the accident. The call had connected, but he hadn't spoken. In the background, I could hear his conversation with Sophia. He must have answered by mistake. Arthur, do we really have to do this? She's your wife, after all, Sophia's voice said. Wife. Arthur sneered. If the old man hadn't forced me, I never would have married her. Sophia, just wait a little longer. Once I have the full support of the Sue family and take the company public, I'll divorce her. Then, the position of Mrs. Shin will be yours and yours alone. The recording echoed in the empty hallway, each word a knife. Arthur's expression shifted from rage to shock, then to an ashen gray. I stopped the recording and looked at him calmly. Now, do you still think I have no grounds? I was discharged 3 days later. Mr. Davies had arranged for the best caregiver, who took me in a private car back to the villa where Arthur and I had lived since our marriage. I didn't let the caregiver help me. I got out on my own, hopping on one foot with my crutches. The living room was just as I had left it. My favorite stargazer lilies on the coffee table. The irony was, I wasn't back to reminisce. I was back to move out. I had the moving company go straight to the second floor and pack up everything that was mine from the walk-in closet and my study. As for the master bedroom, I told them not to touch a thing. Ma'am, should we move these paintings and antiques? A worker asked hesitantly, pointing to the valuable art on the walls. Yes, move them all. Be careful not to damage anything, I commanded from the sofa. Just then, the front door was thrown open violently. My mother-in-law, who had never liked me, stormed in like a hurricane. She had brought 2 relatives I didn't recognize for backup. Madison, you jinx, you dare to come back. She saw the mess and the movers and immediately lost it, rushing over to point a finger at my nose. Who told you could touch anything in this house? What do you think you're doing? Trying to run off with our family's assets? I'm telling you, not a chance. She started to shove the movers. I said coldly, let them continue. The workers looked at me, then at the furious Mrs. Shin, unsure of what to do. I picked up a remote from the coffee table and pressed a button. A large landscape painting on the wall slowly rose, revealing a safe. I entered the code, took out a file, and tossed it on the table in front of her. Mrs. Shin, before you throw a tantrum, perhaps you should read the name on this property deed. She snatched the document suspiciously. When she saw the name Madison on it, her eyes widened. This is impossible. Arthur bought this villa as our marital home. He bought it. I chuckled. I gave him the down payment. I paid the mortgage. The villa was only ever in my name. If you don't believe me, you can have someone check. I paused, looking around the luxurious villa, my voice calm but firm. And it's not just this house, the car he drives, the watch on his wrist, even the fact that your family business grew from a third-rate workshop to what it is today. I need to remind you whose investments and connections made that possible. Mrs. Shin's face flushed red and white, her lips trembled, and she couldn't say a word. So, now, I'm asking you and your people to leave my house. I pointed to the door, or I'll call security. Just then, Arthur rushed in. He saw the scene, his mother's pale face, and finally realized something was wrong. Madison, he began, his voice hoarse. Can we talk? Please, don't do this. I ignored him, watching the movers load the last box onto the truck. Then, with my caregiver's help, I walked towards the door on my crutches. As I passed him, I stopped, turned my head, and said in a voice only he could hear, Arthur, I'm pregnant. 6 weeks. The moment you chose to protect Sophia, you lost the right to be my child's father. His body jolted as if struck by lightning, and he froze. I didn't look back. I walked out of the house I had lived in for 3 years. Mr. Davies' office was in the city's most prosperous business district. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked a forest of skyscrapers. The sun streamed in, illuminating the mahogany desk. Everything was orderly and pristine. Ms. Sue, here is the divorce agreement drafted according to your instructions, Mr. Davies said, sliding a document across the desk. In terms of property division, we have the absolute advantage. The prenuptial agreement is very clear. 50% of the shares in Arthur's company are held in trust by your family's fund. Upon divorce, these shares are automatically transferred to you. Combined with the evidence of his fraud and infidelity, he will essentially leave with nothing. I nodded and picked up a pen, ready to sign. The office door was suddenly thrown open. Arthur rushed in, his eyes bloodshot, looking utterly exhausted. His secretary followed, flustered. Mr. Shen, you can't go in. Mr. Davies is with a client. Arthur ignored him and charged to my desk, planting his hands on it and staring at me. Madison, was what you said true? The baby. His voice trembled. I looked at him, my face impassive. Mr. Davies stood up, speaking with polite detachment. Mr. Shen, if you are here to discuss the divorce, please schedule an appointment with my assistant. If you are here to harass my client, I will call security. I'm talking to her. What's it to you? Arthur roared, then turned his gaze back to me, his tone softening to a plea. Madison, let's go home and talk. Okay, I was wrong. I was a bastard. You can hit me, yell at me, just don't talk about divorce. Don't give up on the baby. He tried to take my hand, but I moved away, seeing his act of deep remorse. I found it incredibly laughable. Arthur, do you really think that all you have to do is apologize, and I'll forgive you, just like I always have, no matter what you've done? He shook his head frantically. No, Madison, I know I broke your heart, but the baby is innocent. For the baby's sake, please give me another chance. A chance. I took another recording pen from my bag and pressed play. This was a backup audio file the police had extracted from the dashcam of Sophia's Porsche. It was from the moments after she hit me, when Arthur was comforting her. Arthur, what do we do? She called the police. What if they find out I did it on purpose? Sophia's voice, thick with tears. Don't be afraid. Just say you panicked and hit the accelerator instead of the brake. She's not seriously hurt. We'll just have to pay some money. I'm here. I won't let anything happen to you. Arthur's voice, calm to the point of being cold, but her leg was bleeding so much. She's not going to die. I know Madison. She's soft-hearted and cares too much about appearances. I'll go to the hospital, say a few nice words, give her some money, and this will all be over. She won't dare to make a big deal out of it. If she does, it will be a disgrace to her family. The recording finished, and the office was silent. Arthur's face was even paler than it had been at the hospital. He must have never dreamed that the words he used to soothe his lover would be recorded verbatim. I turned off the pen and looked at him, my gaze as cold as ice. You were right. I do care about appearances. But now, I would rather lose my face than have someone like you be the father of my child. You are not worthy. A week later, my leg had healed enough for me to walk short distances with a crutch. My brother, Caleb, flew back from abroad to wash away the bad luck, booking the city's top revolving restaurant for dinner. The restaurant, over 100 floors up, offered a panoramic view of the city, amidst the gentle strains of a violin. A waiter in a tuxedo served us exquisite dishes. Does your leg still hurt? Caleb asked, placing a piece of his steak on my plate. Much better. I smiled. I'm sorry for worrying you, Caleb. And that Shen guy, he hasn't bothered you again, has he? He frowned. He'd like to, I said, sipping my lemonade. Mr. Davies has already sent him a restraining order, and his company's shareholders are starting to give him trouble. Just as we were talking, a small commotion at the entrance caught my eye. I looked up and saw Arthur and Sophia. Talk about a small world. They seemed equally surprised to see me. Both looked uncomfortable, especially Arthur, when he saw the handsome, well-dressed man sitting across from me. His eyes instantly turned cold. He probably thought my brother was my new lover. Sophia tugged at his arm, trying to lead him to another table, but Arthur walked straight towards us. He stood by our table, his gaze hostile and scrutinizing as he looked at Caleb. Then he sneered at me. Madison, I really underestimated you. It's only been a few days, and you've already found a replacement. You were really eager to divorce me. Before I could speak, Caleb had put down his cutlery, wiped his mouth with a napkin, and looked up at Arthur, his gaze even colder. Sir, where exactly do you see her being eager? Or is it that in your eyes, all women are as desperate as the one on your arm? Caleb never minced words. Sophia's face turned beet red. Arthur's anger was fully ignited. Who the hell do you think you are? How dare you speak to me like that? Who I am isn't important, Caleb said, standing up. He was half a head taller than Arthur, his presence completely overwhelming. What's important is that you should be well aware of how much of the money you spend, the house you live in, and the company you run, you owe to my sister, Madison. He leaned in closer, his voice low enough for only the few of us to hear. That high-stakes investment agreement you were bragging about, the one with the overseas venture capital firm, did you really think you could land that on your own? The head of that firm's Asia-Pacific division is a college classmate of mine. One phone call from me, and your so-called billion-dollar company will turn into a pile of worthless paper. Arthur's pupils contracted, the blood drained from his face. He looked at Caleb in disbelief, then at me, as if seeking confirmation. I raised my wine glass in a mock toast, a cold smile on my lips. Arthur, the game is over. My brother never made idle threats. The next day, I met Mr. Davies at a cafe to discuss the remaining details. The cafe's television was playing the midday financial news. Shares of local startup Yushing Tech plummeted at the opening bell today, hitting their daily limit down within half an hour. According to sources, its largest investor, overseas venture capital firm Farstar Capital, announced this morning that it was unilaterally withdrawing its investment and initiating legal proceedings. Market rumors suggest that Yushing Tech founder, a Mr. Shen, is suspected of financial fraud and misleading investors, and is currently under investigation. Mr. Davies slid a tablet across the table, displaying more detailed inside information. Ms. Sue, your brother works fast. Farstar Capital not only pulled their funding but also released all the evidence of Arthur's fabricated financial records and exaggerated project prospects. Now that the walls are closing in, all the smaller suppliers and partners he had previously suppressed are coming out of the woodwork to collect their debts. I stirred my coffee, looking at the stock photo of a confident, successful Arthur on the screen, and felt nothing. My phone started ringing frantically. The caller ID said Arthur. I let it ring, not answering. Mr. Davies smiled. He's calling now either to beg for mercy or to threaten you, but it's useless. The court summons and asset freeze order should have already been delivered to his office. He is no longer the high and mighty CEO. The phone rang again and again, tirelessly. Finally, annoyed, I picked it up, blocked the number, and then turned it off. The world was quiet again. Mr. Davies, what about Sophia? I asked. Her intentional assault case has been filed. The dashcam audio is a key piece of evidence. We also found that the Porsche registered in her name was purchased by Arthur using a company account, which constitutes embezzlement. The two charges combined should be enough to keep her locked up for a while. I nodded. Good. From the moment she sowed the evil seed, she should have expected to reap the bitter fruit. Through the cafe window, I saw a crowd of reporters and debt collectors with banners gathered outside the Yushing Tech building. It was chaos, and I was just a quiet spectator. The grand drama he had written and directed himself was finally reaching its spectacular climax. He just never expected to be the most pathetic protagonist. My backup phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. Madison, I'm begging you, answer my call. I was wrong. I was so wrong. The company is finished. I have nothing left. You can't do this to me. For the sake of our marriage. For the sake of the baby. I read the text and deleted it without a change in expression. For the sake of our marriage. The moment he chose Sophia, covering her with his jacket while ignoring my bleeding knee, any bond between us was severed. After moving out of the villa, I settled into a high-rise apartment in the city center with excellent security. Entry required 3 levels of access control, ensuring complete privacy. A heavy rain began to fall, fat drops splattering against the picture window with a dull thud. I had just finished my prenatal yoga, and the caregiver brought me a warm bowl of bird's nest soup. I leaned back on the sofa, eating and flipping through a parenting magazine. The video intercom buzzed. I pressed the answer button. On the screen was a face streaked with rain and tears. It was Arthur. He had no umbrella and was soaked to the skin. His black shirt clung to his body. His hair was a dripping mess, and he looked utterly wretched. He must have been stopped by the security guard downstairs. His only way to contact me was through the visitor system. Madison, open the door. Let me see you, he yelled at the camera, his voice trembling with emotion and cold. I know I was wrong. Please forgive me. Who cares about the company? Who cares about the money? I don't want any of it. I just want you and the baby. I watched him on the screen, silent. Look at me, Madison. Look at the state I'm in. Is this what you wanted? Do you really hate me this much? He was becoming incoherent. I'm sorry, I was out of my mind. Sophia has been arrested. She'll get what she deserves. Let's start over. Okay, I swear, I will never let you suffer again. As he spoke, he pounded on the metal casing of the intercom, creating a loud banging noise. I finished the last spoonful of soup, set the bowl aside, and picked up the remote. On the screen, he seemed about to say more, but I pressed the red end call button. The screen went dark, and the world was quiet again, save for the sound of the rain outside. A few minutes later, my phone rang. It was my brother. Madison, is that bastard downstairs? Yes. I've already sent the building security over. His mother is here too, making a scene in the lobby, calling you a homewrecker and saying you've ruined their family. Don't worry, the guards will escort them out. Okay, I replied, Do you want me to come over? Caleb's voice was tinged with concern. No, it's okay, Caleb, I said, looking out at the rain-washed city. I'm fine, it's just a little noisy. I walked to the window, pulled back a corner of the curtain, and looked down. Arthur and his mother looked so small in the downpour. He was being dragged away by two large security guards, still struggling and shouting my name. His mother was lying on the ground like a shrew, slapping her thighs and wailing. They were like two drowned rats, comical and pathetic. I closed the curtain, shutting out the drama that no longer concerned me. I picked up my phone and sent a message to my obstetrician, scheduling my 4D ultrasound for the next week. No matter how strong the storm raged outside, it could not touch my world. His pleas, on his knees, had come too late and were now worthless. The storm passed, leaving the air fresh and clean. I received an unexpected call from Sophia's lawyer. She wanted to see me before she was formally indicted. I agreed. We met in a quiet tea house in a park. Sophia was in a gray prison uniform, her hands cuffed, escorted by two female officers. In just a few days, her former arrogance and radiance had vanished, replaced by exhaustion and fear. She sat opposite me, her lawyer beside her. Madison, she began, her voice hoarse. I know saying sorry is useless now, but I still want to tell you. I regret it. I said nothing, just sipped my tea. The faint scent of jasmine calmed my nerves. Seeing my indifference, a flicker of resentment crossed her eyes. Why are you so cruel? You've already destroyed Arthur. His company is bankrupt. He's drowning in debt. And you still won't let me go. We were in love before you ever came along. In love? I finally looked at her, my gaze icy. Are you talking about the love where he supported you with my family's money? Where you spent the money he earned through me while playing the part of a wronged, noble victim? I placed a stack of documents on the table, bank statements and transfer records. This is the card Arthur gave you 3 years ago. In those 3 years, he transferred $5.7 million to you from his company and personal accounts, and every single cent in those accounts can be traced back to my family's capital injections. I leaned forward, my voice low. Sophia, that's not love, that's fraud and embezzlement. Besides the intentional assault charge, I can also sue you for financial crimes. How many years do you think you'll get? Her face turned ashen, and she started to tremble uncontrollably. Her lawyer's expression also grew grim. What do you want? She stammered. I want you to pay for what you've done. I said calmly, I'll give you a choice. 1. You go to the police and confess everything. Admit that you hit me out of jealousy. Admit your long-term illicit financial relationship with Arthur. 2. My lawyer will prosecute you to the full extent of the law. Your family runs a small business, right? I'm sure they wouldn't want to be embroiled in a financial scandal and go bankrupt. Despair filled her eyes. She knew I wasn't bluffing. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face, her voice pleading. Please, let me go. I'll leave this city. I'll never appear before you again. You didn't give me a choice when you aimed your car at me. I interrupted, my voice firm. Now, it's your turn to choose. One of the officers reminded her that her time was up. As she was being led away, she suddenly turned and screamed at me, her voice filled with venom and despair. Madison, you won't get away with this. Arthur loves me. Even if you have everything, you will never have his heart. I watched her retreating back, a faint, ironic smile on my lips. His heart, that cheap, fickle thing. I had thrown it in the trash a long time ago. The final divorce judgment came faster than I expected, with irrefutable evidence, and with Arthur and Sophia's financial crimes being tried together. The court sided with me on almost every point. Arthur and I were officially divorced. All assets registered in my name during the marriage, including the villa and the cash equivalent of the company shares held by my family's trust, were awarded to me. Arthur was left with nothing but the massive debts from his bankrupt company. Sophia was found guilty of intentional assault and fraud and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. We finalized the paperwork at Mr. Davies' office. Arthur was there. He was so thin he was almost unrecognizable. He wore a faded old t-shirt. His face was unshaven, and his eyes were empty. He no longer had the air of an elite CEO. He looked like any other middle-aged man on the street, crushed by life. He just stood there, watching me, motionless. Mr. Davies handed me the last document. I signed my name, Madison, without hesitation, my handwriting crisp and clean. Madison, he finally spoke, his voice as rough as sandpaper. Is there really no chance at all? I put down the pen and pushed the document back to Mr. Davies, never once looking at him. To me, he was no different from the air. My brother, Caleb, had come with me. He walked to my side, took my bag, and supported my arm. Let's go. The doctor's appointment is at 3, after the checkup. I'll take you to that new Japanese restaurant. Okay, I smiled and nodded. I walked towards the door on my crutches, with my brother. As we passed Arthur, I could feel his body tense, his gaze burning, filled with pain and regret. But I didn't stop, and I didn't look back. At the door, as if suddenly remembering something, I turned to Mr. Davies. Thank you for everything, Mr. Davies. I've already chosen a nickname for my son. Well, call him Noah. I hope he has a life of peace and joy. My voice wasn't loud, but it was clear enough for everyone in the room to hear. I saw Arthur sway, his hand shooting out to brace himself against the wall. The last bit of color drained from his face. His once confident eyes were now filled with nothing but boundless despair and regret. He finally understood that the grand drama of betrayal he had directed had come to an end, and he had lost everything, including the future he had once disdained but could now never reclaim. Sunlight streamed in through the door. It was warm. My new life was just beginning. 6 months later, by the sea in the south, my brother had bought a house with a white picket fence and a huge garden for me and the baby. From the window, you could see the blue ocean and golden sand. Today was my son Noah's 100-day celebration. The house was full of life. My parents, my brother, and a few close friends were all here. Noah, dressed in a little red outfit, was in my mother's arms, his big, dark eyes curiously taking in his surroundings. He was a good baby, never crying, just smiling a toothless grin at anyone who cooed at him. I sat on the garden swing, watching them, feeling a sense of peace. The TV in the living room was on, broadcasting a local news story. It is reported that the former founder of Yuxing Tech, a Mr. Shen, unable to repay his massive debts, has had all his assets auctioned off. He was recently filmed getting into an altercation in a rented room in the inner city and was detained by the police for fighting. The image flashed on the screen. Arthur being led out of a dilapidated building by the police. He looked even more destitute, his eyes filled with a numb rage. My brother walked over and turned off the TV. Don't watch that. It'll ruin your mood. He handed me a glass of warm milk. I took the milk and smiled. It's okay. It can't affect me anymore. It was true. I no longer felt any hatred for Arthur, or any emotion at all. He was like a piece of mud I had accidentally stepped in on my journey. It was disgusting at the time, but after cleaning my shoes and walking in the sun, the mud dried and fell away, leaving no trace in my memory. What are you thinking about? Caleb asked. I shook my head, my gaze softening as I looked at my son, the center of everyone's attention, gurgling with laughter. I was thinking that when Noah grows up, I want to teach him to be an honest, responsible man who knows how to love and cherish. The evening breeze blew past, carrying the faint salty scent of the sea and the fragrance of the roses in the garden. The setting sun cast a golden glow on the water and on the smiling faces of my family, warm and peaceful. I held my son, feeling his warm, soft little body, listening to the happy chatter of my loved ones. I had once fallen into an abyss because of a man, but now, with my whole world in my arms, I was standing in a higher, brighter place. As for that man, he would spend the rest of his life in the mire of guilt and regret he had chosen for himself, and I had long since moved on.